What's up, Epic 7? Can you believe it's November already? And with November comes a new set of expeditions. So we're going to go over my 3 favorite teams for expeditions. We've made some slight changes, and I think you're really going to enjoy these teams, especially because we've finally gotten rid of all of the limited units. First, let's jump in and do the Blooming Snag Lich. Now, the Blooming Snag Lich, the green expedition, you're going to need a full fire team. Now, in the past, we have used the loser squad. Ballin Cezanne, Bomb Model Kana, Mercedes, and Cecilia. And it's the same team. That's right, guys. Sorry, there's no real improvements or updates. I had hopes that the new Fire Flan would be really good here, but she's just not. Her dual attack is a single target attack, and single target attacks have significantly reduced damage and just don't really do enough. She also doesn't have the speed buff that Kana has, so no. I'm afraid, guys, this is still the best team, but I'll go over some alternates in case you don't have these units. First on the team, we're going to be running Fire Cecilia. Fire Cecilia is our knight. You need a Fire Knight in the front line to take hits. Now, if you don't have Fire Cecilia, you can run Ross, or you could run Fire Lilius. I think Lilius might be slightly better than Ross, but Ross is really good for this as well because he does pack a defense break on his S2. Giving you a backup source of defense breaks. But if you've got Fire Cecilia, she is by far and away the best knight to run in this. Mostly because she has got 2 AoE hits, which really help you rotating the crystal's immunization skill. For an EE, I've got her on her number 2 EE. It's the best choice for her. It adds a slow to her S2 attack, so not only do you attack down, you also put slow on the enemy, and between the slow from Cecilia and the speed buff from Bomb Model Kana, you can really cycle this fight quickly. As for an artifact, it doesn't matter. You can literally run anything on her. Put any artifact you want. I just gave her a card of Small Miracles to give the team more attack, but really any artifact you can even run without an artifact. As for speed, you do want her to cycle her skills. You want her to be relatively fast. She doesn't need to be this fast, but try to keep her north of 220 speed. The reason for that is her S3 spams immunity, and you really want to try to maintain that immunity stat because the boss does do a lot of poisons, and the poisons can kind of start to beat you down if too many of them proc and your units start dying. So try to get Cecilia fast. Other than that, 85% effectiveness is the magic number. Try to keep her 85% and above. That gives you your maximum chance to stick slow, your maximum chance to stick attack down, your maximum chance to stick defense breaks off of her S1. Remember, her S1 skill does have a defense break. As for Molagora, none is required, but every little bit helps. Additional chances to stick the defense break are really nice. It's not required. She's your backup defense breaker, so you don't need to mola this skill. It's just a little bit of a nudge towards stability. For S2, you don't really need to have the attack down and the speed down. It's just a backup speed down, and the attack down is a little bit nice, but you don't need it. But it's a nice nudge if you can pull it off. And her S3, you don't need the provoke. You can't provoke. So there's really no need to mola this at all other than to get to the skill cooldown, which will help cycle her ability to put immunity on your team, which will make you more resistant to the poison. So for all of them, taking this to +3 is your best bet. Now, you can just run this until she hits Friendship 10 and dump your Friendship molas into getting this to +3 and not do anything else to her and you're fine. Second unit on the team is Ballin Cezanne. Now, if you don't have Ballin Cezanne, what you're looking for is a fire DPS unit that does AoE attacks and also defense breaks. So you can run Afternoon Soak Flan in this position, but Ballin Cezanne is just better. He cycles his skills faster and is a more reliable source of defense breaks since you can put him on Etika Scepter to cycle his skills a little faster. You could run Festive Ida, she works. You could run Haste. Haste is probably your second best option to Ballin Cezanne. If you don't have Ball, try Haste. His defense break's not as reliable as Ball's, but he also brings some healing to your team that Ball doesn't. And last would be Tenebria. Tenebria also has a defense break in her kit. Doesn't have as many AoE hits as Ball, but she works as well. So those are kind of your 3 options to Ball, but Ball is the best in this fight. And if you have the guy, throw some gear on him and run him. Give him a job. He doesn't need to be level 60. but he does do pretty significant damage, so look to getting him to level 60 and give him some damage stats. Like everything else in Expeditions, 85% effectiveness is your goal, so that you have your maximum chance to stick your debuffs. I have him on this number 3 EE to increase the chance of sticking the debuffs. I've got him on Etika Scepter to help cycle so that he can maybe do his S3 more and more often. If you don't have Etika Scepter, I would recommend Prophetic Candlestick to help cycle his skills. That would work as well. Other than that, so 85% crit chance, so he has the maximum crit chance, because remember, you have elemental advantage, so you only need 85 crit to get 100% crit chance. And give him a little bit of speed, because you want him to cycle his skills. As important as cycling Cecilia is for immunity, it's important to cycle Ball to keep your defense breaks humming. So I would say try to keep him north of 190 speed, and then just pump the rest into some damage, because he hits surprisingly hard. As for Molagora, increasing to get the chance, the 90% chance to defense break is really, really good. Now it's 85%, but the EE takes it to 90. He is a defense break and a speed down. Things we're getting from Cecilia, but at a much higher chance and in a single skill. His S2 is just additional damage. You don't need to mola this. It's just a little bit more stability in the speed of clear. And the S1 is in chance to inflict poison, which doesn't matter in this. So the only skill you really need to mola is his S3 up to +4. At least a +3, you'll be at 80% chance, but +4 really kind of takes it to the maximum stability for Ball on this team. Next unit on the team is going to be Mercedes. I guess you can replace Mercedes with any of the other replacements that I had for Ball and Cezanne. You could put Haste, you could put Tenebria, you could put Festive Ida, you could even put the new Flan on here, but everybody has Mercedes, and she is best in slot for this fight. So you have her. She's your damage dealer, and like all damage dealers, you want to max out their Molagora. And you'll want to run her on her own artifact, because Magic for Friends procs like crazy in here. That's additional attacks. It gives her ability to come back to life in case things go to that bad place. Just stack a bunch of damage on her. Give her a little bit of speed so she can cycle her turns. She does not need to be on counter set. Speed set, destruction set, any set would work just fine. But I do think you want her north of 160 speed just to make sure that she's out there doing damage. Her S3 is an attack buff, so you want to get that off as soon as possible. And the last unit on the team is Bomb Model Kana. Now, if you don't have Bomb Model Kana, or more importantly, if you don't have the artifact Bloodstone, Bloodstone is what makes Bomb Model Kana work here. Bloodstone turns Kana into your healer. If you do not have Bloodstone, Kana will not work. If you do not have Bloodstone, simply run Mascot Hazel. Just slap Mascot Hazel on the team, give her 6 pieces of gear and a little bit of speed, and press go. She doesn't need to be built this well. She doesn't need the ER. She doesn't need that much HP. She doesn't even need that much speed. Just try to keep her around like 190 and above speed so that she can cycle, and just stick her on the team. You will lose the damage that you get from Bomb Model Kana. You will lose the extra AoE attacks for hitting the crystal for immunization. So it definitely slows it down, but it's still a full clear, and you don't have to worry about Kana. The reason for Hazel is she can cleanse all the poisons, she can heal your team, and that's really the whole and the sum of it, right? Is she heals your team. But if you have Bomb Model Kana on Bloodstone, Kana heals your team while doing damage. So, if you have the Bloodstone artifact, put the free unit Bomb Model Kana on your team. Extra AoE hits, extra speed buff for your entire team, and the speed buff from Kana is what really ties this together and makes it giga fast. 85% effectiveness would be nice, though it's not required. The only thing that she needs effectiveness for is a strip, and it's really inconsequential, so you can decide whether or not you want to put the effectiveness on her. I don't think it's necessary. That's why I haven't bothered manipulating gear to get it up to 85. I'm just running her as fast as I can because I want her to take turns. I want her to get that speed buff off quickly and to repeatedly apply that speed buff. I think north of 210 speed would be plenty. But the faster the better, and a good chunk of damage, because remember, Bloodstone's healing is based on the damage dealt, so you want to make sure she hits hard enough that her heals are impactful. Enough yapping, let's get to attacking. Here's how the team works. So Kana is my fastest unit on the team right now, at least that's what Speed RNG says. She drops her S3 and everybody gets a speed buff. Cecilia goes second, applying the immunity to the entire team. Now we won't take poisons from the first boss attack. Ballin Sazan uses his S3. This should apply a defense break and a slow debuff. We got both of them. Mercedes does an S3. This gives attack buff to the entire team. Now we are in great shape. We've got attack buff, we got speed buff, we got immunity, and the boss's defense broken and slowed. Now the trick to this team is the boss's S3 puts neurotoxin on your entire team. And when you get this neurotoxin debuff, you will take 90% of your health as damage as soon as you take a turn. Your HP bar basically vanishes and you die to a sneeze. To not have this happen, you need to put immunization on your team. And the way you get immunization is you see this crystal on the front. He's got this skill null on it. When you beat through this skill null, when you hit enough times that the number on the skill null gets to 0 and the crystal is exposed, when you hit the crystal that time, here, I'll show it to you right here. See, the crystal skill null is gone, so this next hit hits the crystal, and watch when the crystal gets hit, watch my units over here, they got this immunization effect.
My lady.
So this immunization effect makes the neurotoxin not stick to your units. So you can see the boss's S3 is ready. When the boss takes turn, he would be putting the neurotoxin on us, but because we're maintaining the immunization, and mind you, that immunization only lasts for 2 rounds, this is why you want AoE hits. Not just because AoE does 90% more damage, but because you also keep spam hitting the crystal, and that maintains the immunization, so that when the boss does this big attack to put neurotoxin, you're immune to the neurotoxin. You never take the damage, and as long as you can maintain that immunization, it makes this fight a cakewalk. So this is the big hit. Neurotoxin can't apply because we're immune, and we keep all of our health and keep moving the fight forward. Now, as you start removing AoE units, like you remove Kana and you put in Mascot Hazel. No AoE hits from Mascot Hazel, right? So you've lost one of your AoE spammers. You remove Ball and Sazan and you put in Fire Tenebria. Tenebria's S2 and S3 are AoEs, but her S1's single target. You're starting to chip away at the number of AoE hits. You might notice that you start to reduce your ability to take out that crystal, to maintain the immunization. So that's part of why I really like Mercedes. She does the hit, she does another hit, and if she gets attacked, she'll proc magic for friends. If you've got counter set on her, it's even more chances to proc. That can kind of help make up for it. The dual attacking from Kana also really is good at keeping that crystal's skill null down so that you can make sure you maintain the immunization. So if you notice you're taking neurotoxin hits, the answer to you is going to be swap one of the units out. Take Ras out, put Cecilia in, even if she's level 50. Take Mercedes out and put Ball and Sazan in, even if he's level 50. Do something to get more AoE attacks in so that you can maintain the immunization. That's key to beating this. As long as you can maintain the immunization, you should be able to chew through this fight very, very well.
I will break through.
Looks like we're almost done here. We're at 1.6 million. The boss only has 1.8 million health. We just need another 100k and it is over. And that should be pretty easy because look at the boss's health bar. We still got a full 2-turn rotation before it is time for this fight to be over. He doesn't even have his Berserk skill up yet.
Bones to sand.
Blood to dust.
There you go. I know these aren't the most popular units, but that's okay. Let the losers have something to do in this game. All of these units work at level 50. You don't need level 60 on any of these units. other than to get the damage to move it along quicker. The units that need level 60 the most would be Mercedes and Balances-on, since they're your principal damage dealers. But if you can only put them together all at level 50, you should still be able to clear or get close enough to full clear that somebody else will come along and finish it off for you. Now let's move over and talk about the Ice Expedition, Hopeless Symmachus. Now in the past, when we've done the Hopeless Symmachus, we've used Ram, who is the free unit we all got from the ReZero collab, but it's been over a year since we've had a ReZero collab, and it's starting to become more and more obvious that collaboration units are the true limited units of Epic 7, that we aren't going to see reruns, at least not like we used to. So I wanted to move away from using Ram on this team, but fortunately Smilegate has given us an option. So to do the Hopeless Symmachus team, we're going to use Fenris. That's right, Fenris. Now the way this team works is we're going to use Lilka, and Lilka does not need to be level 60. She can be level 50. She works just fine. If you don't have Lilka, there are options. You could use Ruzid. You could use Mercenary Helga, but Lilka is a 3-star unit. Everybody should have her, and she's giga easy to build. Let's take a look at her build for a second. So Lilka, you want 85% effectiveness on her because she does have debuffs in her kit. So make sure you get that 85% effectiveness. Make sure you get the 85% crit chance because she does surprisingly good damage for a 3-star unit. So go ahead and take it. Point's a point, right? I don't have a lot of crit damage and attack in her, but that's because I wanted her to be fast. She doesn't need to be this fast. I think maybe north of 210, 220 speed, somewhere in that range should be sufficient. You just want to make sure that she is there to take turns to CR push your units and to cycle her skills. As for an artifact, I've got her on a Song of Stars just to add target to her kit. She most certainly doesn't need it. I think you full clear without it just fine, but if you want to add Song of Stars to her to make it even stronger and faster, go for it. Otherwise, any ranger artifact would work just fine. I have her imprint turned off to give some attack to the top and back units, mostly to the back unit. But if you're struggling to meet the crit chance requirement, by all means, turn it on. 116 attack is not going to make or break this fight. As for Molagora, hey, she's a 3-star. She doesn't need Molagora, but try to get the skill up to get the maximum chance to do the defense break. Try to do the skill up to make her S2 cycle faster because you really want that skill. And try to do the skill up to give you the maximum chance to defense break on her S1. These are all bonuses that make the fight run smoother. Anything else is icing on the cake. Like I said, she is a 3-star, so it doesn't cost anything but stigma and catalysts to max this girl out. Next on the team is Tamarin. That's right, Tamarin. I know you're like, but this is a water boss. Why are we taking a fire unit in? She'll get bodied. Tamarin is one of the few units whose kit is strong enough to let her just run in this just fine. Now my Tamarin is very overtuned. You do not need your Tamarin to be quite this good, but I'll explain her stats here. So my Tamarin has got 1200 defense and about 13k health. That's pretty close to being minimum. I wouldn't go lower than 13 by 12. You might run into some survivability issues if you do. If you do go that low, consider an artifact that can help heal her, like Water's Origin, so that when she takes damage, she'll self-heal, or Touch of Rekos, or Guardian Ice Crystal, something that will help keep her alive, right? I've got her imprint turned on to AoE attack to help the back row. You could also change her to health to make her a little bit bulkier. If you've got imprints, that's fine. I do think you want her fast. I think 230 is kind of the minimum speed range for a solid Tamarin in this. You can try slower, but you want to make sure she goes fast enough to cycle her skills and, most importantly, cycle her healing. If she's too slow, she'll die before she heals. Effectiveness, she doesn't really need any for this fight. Her S1's got a strip to it, which is nice, but it's not really critical to how this fight runs. So she doesn't need any effectiveness. The 105 effectiveness I have on her is so that she can perform in Nightmare Raid for me. Effect resistance, she really doesn't need any for this fight. If you're running Dark Expedition, she'll need 100 ER for Dark Expedition. If you're taking her into Nightmare Raid against the Queen, she'll want 200 ER for the Queen. But for this fight, she doesn't really need any. So if you're just focusing on expeditions, don't worry about these two stats at all. Just focus on speed and a little bit of bulk. I've got her on Magahara's Tome to help cycle her faster, because remember, I want her to take turns. You could also run her on Water's Origin. That will probably help cycle her. You could also run her on Prophetic Candlestick. It won't help cycle her taking turns, but it'll help cycle her turn cooldown. So those are all viable options for Tamarin. And the almighty Knight Breig. I'm not going to go over substitutions because he is just simply best in slot. I mean, yeah, you could put Rowana up in front, I suppose. That would work okay. But if you've got Breig, use Breig. He was built for expeditions, and he is absolutely perfect for this, and all of you should have him by now. Breig, you just want... I think he only needs like 35% effectiveness because of his 50% ER boost, or effectiveness boost that's built into his kit. So only 35 on the effectiveness, a little bit of speed, but not too much. Remember, you want to keep him below the 180, 185 speed threshold so that he always goes after the boss on the Dark Expeditions. Now, I know Dark Expeditions aren't up right now, so it's not a big deal, but trust me, when Dark Expos are up, key to surviving that is him being able to S2 after the boss attacks, and that's why I'm running him kind of slow. If you want to put him on a counter set, you do you. I don't like the inconsistency of counter set in this fight. I think it can trigger the boss attacks too often, and you can wind up getting your Tamarin killed. Pen set is definitely not required. You'll have defense break up almost the entire time, so the effect of the pen set is really minimized. Just go for bulk. As much HP as you can give him. As much HP as you can give him so he can survive, and try to get him around 85% crit chance if you run Wings of Light and Shadow. Now, Breig does bring some damage, but he is here principally as a tank and a debuffer, so don't worry too much about his damage. If you can get the crit chance and the crit damage and run wings on him, that's great. If you're having trouble with him surviving, maybe he's only like 20k health, maybe he is only level 50, just put Proof of Valor, or better yet, the Holotrials Artifact Sword of Azera, and that'll help him be survivable, and just run him as your tank and debuffer, and let your damage dealers take care of the rest, because trust, your damage dealers are going to do great here. And for a damage dealer, that's right, guys, he's best in slot somewhere. We found a place for Fenris in the game. Isn't it great? Fenris is the best unit for this. I know, a lot of you just skipped him, right? If you don't have Fenris, the second best unit is going to be from the ReZero collab, the unit Ram. She's also a full clear unit. If you don't have Fenris or Ram, you can run just about any good, solid green DPS unit in this spot. You can run Giselle, you could run Sid, you could run Galililius. Pro tip, if you run Galililius, turn her skills off. Her S1 hits harder than her S3 because her S3 is penetration dependent, and the boss will have defense pen already on it. You're only going to do about 50k damage with your S3, whereas his S1 will do about 70k damage. I know it's crazy, but that's the way it is. Just turn Gal's skills off and she would work. But any good solid green damage dealer in the back will work. The key to Fenris is his additional damage when he takes an extra attack, and the boss will eventually get an extra attack, letting Fenris jump in the air and shoot him in the face. I like Dux Noctis on him, but you can most certainly run the Strawberry Cake artifact, or any artifact that boosts his damage. Remember, Daydream Joker does not work in any expeditions, so if you're running Daydream Joker, you may as well have no artifact on at all. You're getting no benefit from Daydream Joker in expeditions. Again, pen set does minimal boost to damage. It does help, but it's only a teeny tiny bit because the boss will have a defense break on almost 24/7. So if you can build a better one on crit set, build a better one on crit set. My Fenris is on a destruction set to maximize his damage, but I'm sure you could probably build better, but if not, this is overkill. This is such overkill. Fenris makes this fight so easy. This is one where a lot of people always used to struggle for that last little bit of damage. Fenris should take care of it for you. Let's show you how it works. Everybody's skills are on. At the start of the fight, the boss applies a weakness to the highest attack unit. Lilka pushes him up, but he's still frozen in place.
Away.
And we need something to bridge that last little bit. You notice the weakness is keeping him from moving. This is where Lilka is so good in this fight. Now,
You degrade yourself.
Breig puts his defense break up. Lilka's S2 gives a speed buff to the entire team. And now that Fenris has a speed buff, he's able to start slowly inching forward, moving down the line until he eventually takes a turn.
Away.
Right now. Right now. Okay, so now Fenris can start attacking and doing damage.
Please.
We push Fenris back up again. He drops his S3. Watch this damage, guys. Oh my god, it really said 150k damage, and we didn't even have target up. It would have been more if we had gotten target off of the Song of Stars artifact. There was the extra attack that triggered Fenris's extra attack. Breig reapplies the defense break.
And the arrogance of a fool.
Listen.
Tamarin transforms, and this is why you want Tamarin. Look how much tempo you get out of this unit on the team. CR pushing everybody up. Extra attacks.
One at a time.
We got the target this time. Target and defense break. Now Fenris is going to hit extra hard.
I have no mercy to spare. For your reckless greed.
Here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Fenris with Gab and Max Duck Noxus. Show us what you can do.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's shine.
Here comes the S3 with Gab into target, into defense break. 175k damage in one hit. We've passed the halfway point, and we're nowhere near the halfway point on the boss's bar.
I'm not so sure about
Fenris gets pushed up to the front again. Another strong hit.
Lady, hey,
Target's back up.
go away.
90k from an S1, guys. 95k.
Listen.
We lost the defense buff, or defense break. If only we'd had the defense break for that hit. How good would that have been?
Till my final shot. Will never yield.
Okay, I want you guys to take note here. We are at 1.4 million damage.
Mercy to spare. For your reckless greed.
Almost 1.5 million, and we just hit the halfway point of the fight. That's how clean this is with Fenris. That's how overgeared my Fenris is. I think if your Fenris was level 50, if he didn't have Molagora. Mine's on Grace of Growth right now, but I'm going to try running him at level 50. I bet he's still full clears.
I'm not gonna be gentle. There's nothing more absurd than the arrogance of a fool.
Go away.
All right, guys, here we go. One last hit. 1.9 million, and the boss is dead with plenty of turns to go. I hope those of you who got your Fenris and felt like you wasted your bookmarks pulling him are happy that he now has a job. This Fenris makes Ice Expedition probably one of the easiest to clear units, or one of the easiest clear expos in the game. It's right up there with Fire Expo as to how fast and clean it can be cleared with Fenris, 2 free units, and a 3-star.
Not many can be trusted with a task like this. Lucky we've got you.
Now, the last fight is the Light Expedition, arguably the hardest one. In the past, we've always used Cerise, but thanks to the big brains in my chat, we've come up with an answer for you. If you do not have the limited unit Cerise, you can use Wanderer Silk. Now, if your Wanderer Silk is only level 50, that's fine. She'll still work, but if you can get her to level 60, it can help with her survivability, and actually she can bring a little bit of damage to the team. Let's go over the basics, though. First, Breig. It's the same Breig we've been using in all of the other expeditions. Once again, Breig only needs 35% effectiveness. He gets the last 50% from his built-in passives, from his built-in perception, I should say, giving him the maximum 85 so that he can always stick his defense breaks. You just want him with enough HP to survive. Try to keep him around 175-ish speed or slower. That's more for Dark Expedition than anything else. He really doesn't have any speed limitations for this set of expeditions. But if you want to be ready for when Dark Expo comes back, that's a solid speed range for him. If you can get him to a 100% crit chance, that's great. I've got him at 74 plus wings gets him up to 90 or to 89% crit chance. It's not perfect, but hey, you know what? He's not here to be a damage dealer. He is here to be a debuffer. But if you want him to do some damage, go for it. If you're having trouble with your Breig dying on you, change him from Wings of Light and Shadow to the Hall of Trials artifact, Sword of Azera. That will really help keep him alive. If you don't have Sword of Azera, go get it from Hall of Trials and throw Proof of Valor on him until you do get this artifact. Other than that, damage. Because in this phase, you can't heal each other. The only way you heal is by doing damage and using the Vampirism debuff on the enemy to heal yourself. Or I should say the Vampiric Touch buff on yourself to heal yourself. Next unit on the team is Zealot Carmen Rose, and if I hear one more person say, what's the alternate to Zealot Carmen Rose, I'm going to lose my mind. She is perfect for this fight. Yes, there are alternates. Yes, you can find other ways to do this fight without her, but why? She's a 3-star unit. Her specialty change is over like that. She works at level 50. You don't have to invest Molagora in her because she's a 3-star. You level her up with Stigma. Just go get Carmen Rose. Take 10 minutes out of your life, pick up the redhead, and put some gear on her. Put 5 pieces of gear on her because she is not that hard to build. The reason Zealot Carmen Rose is so good is her S3 is a strip. It removes the defense buff, and it applies buff block, which keeps the boss from getting buff block back. It boosts attack and defense of the caster, making her easier to build at lower gear levels. She is a mage, so she can wear the Caladra artifact, letting her do stupendous damage in this fight for free. If you don't have Caladra, put any artifact that you want on her, just not book, or not Tog's book, right? Her S2 slows the enemy, so now the enemy moves slower, making it easier to win the fight. Now, sure, Breig does slow as well, but this doubles up on that. And speed buffs the caster, so she cycles even faster. And her S1 heals her. She's got built-in lifesteal on her S1, so she is really easy to keep alive. And her damage stats are crazy. You don't have to use a rage set. You don't have to use a pen set. Just put some good damage on her. Keep her north of 170 speed, and give her as much damage as you can. Her specialty change gives her 50% crit effectiveness baked into her kit, so much like Breig, she only needs 35 effectiveness. Now mine's a little bit short, but that's okay. It's close enough. I'll maybe nudge her up later. I'll find something to change for 4% more effectiveness. And that's it. So easy to build this unit. And I know, like, I don't have a rage set. Who cares? Put an attack set on her. Put a speed set on her. Put a destruction set on her. Just put 6 random pieces of gear that give you 100% chance to crit, 34 or 35% effectiveness, and the rest into damage, and watch her fly even at 5-star. Stop asking me for alternates for a unit that is specifically built for this, that pretty much everybody should have unless you sell your 3 stars, and don't do that. Always keep a copy of everything. Eventually you're going to pull this girl, throw her on the team, and just go crazy. If you somehow do not have Zealot Carmen Rose, put Cerise on the team. She's a source of buff block. She's a dual attack, which can dual attack with the other damage units. And she's got a strip on her S3. She's probably your best bet until you pick up your Zealot Carmen Rose. And for the DPS unit, I'm going to use Fire Sirmia. You could run Flan on Bloodstone in this position, or even on her own artifact in this position, and she would probably work just as well, but Flan's not a redhead, and Sirmia is, so priorities. Sirmia, I've just got built with a lot of damage. I put her on the Strawberry Cake artifact, really any artifact that does damage except Daydream Joker. Remember, no expedition lets Daydream Joker work. The bosses are 100% immune to HP scale damage, so Daydream Joker has 0 impact on any expeditions. Make sure she's on the number 1 EE. It's not required, but hey, 25% of the time you get to do double damage with your Sirmia, and she's going to attack enough that this will happen a few times during the fight, and you'll be glad for it. This really speeds the fight along. I've got her on a rage set. She doesn't need to be on a rage set. Just anything that does good, solid damage. She only needs 3 stats. Attack, crit damage, and crit chance. 4 stats. You want a little speed on her. She doesn't need a lot of speed, but look for speed main boots. Try to keep her north of 150 because you do want her to cycle her turns. The extra 45 speed she gets from this will let her take more turns, which will let you do more damage throughout the entire run. If you run her base speed nuclear, sure, she'll hit harder, but she'll hit less often, and your net total damage by the end of the fight will be lower. So a little bit of speed on her. 160 to 190 speed is optimal to make sure she really lays down the damage. And the last unit on the team, the one that pulls it all together, is Wanderer Silk. Now, Wanderer Silk is who I chose to replace Cerise. If you have Cerise, she is simply better at this fight, right? If you've got Cerise, put her on the team. She basically does what Silk does, but she also is a secondary part of buff block, and she dual attacks more often than Silk. But Silk works just fine and is not limited, so we're going to run a Silk. For Silk, I recommend, if you have it, to put the Song of Stars artifact on her. I think there are options other than Silk that you can use. I have run this before with a damage-based Asaria and have had successful full clears, but that's a very bizarre and weird build for Asaria. Not one most people are going to want to do, and it's not super consistent. Silk is pretty consistent. So build her with a little bit of damage, because remember, the damage you do is what heals yourself as a unit. So make sure she's got 100% crit and put a little bit of damage on her. Make sure she is at 85% effectiveness so that she can stick her debuffs. I've got her on the number 2 EE, and this is a good one because this is the EE that lets her S3 dispel a buff from the enemy that will let you get rid of the defense buff on the boss. She's got everything that Cerise has got, except she doesn't have buff block, and she's got slightly fewer dual attacks. But that's okay. She still works just fine, especially on Song of Stars. As for skill ups, I did put her on Grace of Growth for this just to get the extra damage. You don't need to do this. I've run her at level 50 without any Molagora, and she still either full clears or goes right up to the edge of full clearing. I Grace of Growth her because I don't plan on making this my permanent team. I do plan on going back to Cerise because if you have her, Cerise is just better. But if you don't have Cerise, Silk is a free option, especially after the Dash event. Everybody probably has a Silk somewhere on their team. But as for skill ups, definitely go for the skill cooldown. Don't worry about anything in the S2. And the S1, you don't really have to worry about anything in the S1. The extra 10% chance to target is fine, but if you're running Song of Stars, you already got that. If you're not running Song of Stars, this might be more important to you, and then you can run a different artifact, like Bloodstone to keep her alive, or Infinity Basket. I don't know. There's other options for you to run on Silk. I do like putting her on the speed instead of changing her to effectiveness. She doesn't need the effectiveness typically, but the speed is really nice because remember how I said part of the key to this is cycling Sirmia's skills? Well, that's 14 extra speed for Sirmia. Now she goes even faster. So anyway, Cerise or Silk, both are full clear options. Use whichever one you aren't using in other aspects of the game, or whichever one you happen to have. Here's how the fight works. Okay, at the start of the fight, everybody's skills are turned on. Zealot Carmen Rose drops her S3. Sorry, Wanderer Silk drops her S3. Zealot Carmen Rose uses her S3 to strip the defense buff. Unfortunately, we got 15% on buff block. So we're going to reproc the defense buff here, and that's a little unfortunate, but hopefully we can strip that pretty soon, because that's greatly reducing our damage. Breig, can you help us out here? No, not yet. So this isn't going to hit nearly as hard. This should hit for 85k, instead hits for 50k. We really need to get rid of that defense buff. We really need to maintain the buff block. And that's part of what makes Cerise better than Silk here, is it gives you a backup source of buff block. But we got the strip. Now we've got buff block, slow, and defense break, and hopefully this time we get, there we go. Now we've got slow, defense break, target, and buff block. We're in good shape. We should be able to push this to the end.
My side.
Attack down will help, and we re-up the target. Good hit. Extra hit from Sirmia. Nice.
No escape.
Come on, guys. We have got some damage to catch up on. Not having that defense break really slowed things down.
Yourself further.
I got this.
Look how hard Zealot Carmen Rose hits. That's why I really get tired of people saying what's a replacement for her. She is so good in this fight. Extra attack from Breig.
And the arrogance of a fool.
This is why. You should have listened to me.
Okay, we're at 760k. I like to be 900k at this point in the fight, so we're a little bit behind.
All my might.
All right. I'll destroy you. I'll send you.
Do our S3 attack. That's going to put target on. Breig will attack. This should strip the defense buff and replace it with defense break.
For your reckless greed.
There we go. And now Zealot Rose. I guess we're a turn away on Zealot Rose still from getting her buff block back up.
With each moon,
But we'll get it next.
you degrade yourself.
Nice hit from Breig. And here comes buff block. Nice. Now we've got the magic 3. We've got buff block, target, defense break, and slow. Those are the 4 debuffs you want to maintain. They're the ones that let us really crank out the damage.
Advance.
Got a nice free pull on Sirmia there. That helps make up from the lost damage at the start of the fight, not having the defense buff up, or not having the defense buff gone.
And the arrogance of a fool.
One shot, one kill.
S3 attack down. Okay, we're about 350k away from the end here, so we need to get buff block and defense break reestablished as soon as possible. Hopefully we get the buff block. There we go. Breig gets hit twice.
Grant me power.
Breig should be ready with his S3 now.
I have no mercy
Show me a
to
nice
spare.
defense break, Breig. Show me a nice, sick, thick
For your
defense break.
reckless greed.
And slow. There, we got the magic 4 again. Sirmia drops her big S3.
Blow you away. You can't run from me.
Nice hit from Carmen Rose. Nice hit from Breig.
With each moon,
Looks like we got 2 hits left. Hopefully it's enough to push that last 100k
you
damage.
degrade yourself further.
Hit from Sirmia and a hit from Rose. And there's our full clear, even not getting rid of the defense buff at the start. Even with kind of a weak first phase, we still pulled off a full clear. Now, if you get Cerise on the team in place of Wanderer Silk, it's more consistent. The additional chance for defense break, the additional pulls, the higher speeds, everything seems to be better with Cerise, but if you don't have limited Cerise, you don't have to have her anymore. This fight either full clears or gets so close to full clear that somebody will take care of it for you. Hopefully this helps you guys out with your light expedition, especially those who are missing limited units.
Don't worry. You'll have
I hope this helps you guys clear your board. And real quick, let's talk about that board. I get asked all the time, is it worth purchasing the Battle Pass for expeditions? It feels so bad spending 1,500 Skystones on this. But if you have the 1,500 Skystones to spare, it gives you these conversion boxes and then the reforged mats to buy the conversion boxes. It gives you additional Molagora, gives you an additional set of resources, and it gives you half of an ML pull. I think it's worth. I do. I buy it every single time, but I spend a little bit of money on the game, and I usually have the Skystones to spare. If you do not spend money on this game, you might want to save your Skystones for something else. None of the resources you get from this are necessary. They just advance your game a little bit faster. You get Molagora just by playing naturally. You'll get mod boxes just by playing naturally. You'll get reforged mats just by farming the game. You'll get gold transmit stones just by playing the game. None of these things are instrumental to making your account better. They just are a time saver. They advance your account quickly, and I think For 1,500 Sky Stones, the rate at which these advance your count is worth it if you have the Sky Stones to spare. If you're starved on Sky Stones and you're worried about the next collaboration, the next epic pass, the next banner that you simply have to dump Sky Stones in, being able to refresh the shop for mystics, then you use your resources wisely. But if you don't mind spending a little and you got some Sky Stones, yes, the reward per Sky Stone value is just barely worth it, but still worth it. Hope this guide helps you guys out. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Take care, Epic 7.